Today, we are going to learn about a single firm's long-run supply curve in perfect competition. Before we get started, let's define some of the terms in the graph. We have MC, which is marginal cost. Marginal cost is the additional cost incurred when producing one additional unit of a product. We then have ATC, which is average total cost, which includes both variable costs and fixed costs in its average. We also have AVC, which is average variable cost. This includes only variable costs in its average. For example, if I owned a factory that made shoes, costs such as leather and shoelaces would be part of variable cost, while costs for such as rent or equipment would be under fixed costs. If you watched our video on firms' short-run supply curve and shutdown point, this graph will look very familiar to you. In fact, there are only a few changes to this graph than the graph in the previous video. One of the few changes is the highlighted green area. If you recall from our previous video, a single firm's short-run supply curve in perfect competition starts to follow marginal cost after the minimum point of AVC. However, for the long-run supply curve, it starts following the marginal cost at the minimum point of ATC. Whenever the long-run supply curve is below the minimum point of ATC, it is strictly to the left on the price axis. This means that the firm produces 0 unit of a product. Now, the reasoning behind the change from the minimum point of AVC to the minimum point of ATC is due to fixed costs. In the short run, we determined that fixed costs were considered as sunk costs, and were thus not considered when making the decision to shut down in the short run. However, as time moves on and we enter the long run, these fixed costs begin to become increasingly more variable. Let's go back to our shoe factory for an example. In the short run, our rent on the factory will remain the same, as we have a contract, and our production scale is not large enough to terminate that contract or create a new additional contract. However, as we enter the long run, we might decide to expand our shoe factory, terminating our old contract and changing our rent costs. Thus, both fixed costs and variable costs now become all variable costs, included in our decision to shut down. Since we know that profit is maximized when marginal revenue equals marginal cost, we can find the price along the supply curve. If the price is below the minimum point of ATC, we must shut down, as we cannot sustain our production and cover our costs. Thus, the price must be at or above the minimum point of ATC in order for our firm to continue production. Now, you might also see on the left side of the graph where P equals ATC. If you have watched our video on profit maximization for a firm in the long run for perfect competition, you will understand that due to perfect competition's characteristics, such as there being no barriers to enter or exit, and firms being price takers, the price will eventually equal average total cost. This is because, as firms in the market gain profits, these profits will attract new firms to enter the market. New firms will continue to enter the market until the economic profits are virtually zero. This is where profit is maximized in the long run. We also know that profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. The formula to find profit is price minus average total cost, all times quantity. Thus, if profit is 0, then price must equal average total cost. Since this shows a firm in the long run of perfect competition, then the price must equal ATC. Since marginal cost is at the minimum point of ATC, a firm should continue its production even if it is making 0 economic profit. So today, we have learned about a single firm's long-run supply curve in perfect competition, when a firm should close down in the long run, and how it differs from a firm's short-run supply curve. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I hope to see you again in my next video.